Alright guys, Tom here and welcome to a new video, and today I'm doing my WWE Extreme Rules 2014 review, the full show breakdown, thoughts and analysis, and it also includes all the results of the Extreme Rules 2014 pay-per-view. Extreme Rules 2014 came from East Rutherford, New Jersey in the ITOD Center on May the 4th, 2014. Can I get 500 likes on this video? We got over 1,000 likes on my WrestleMania 30 review, but can we get 500 likes on the pay-per-view after review Extreme Rules 2014? This is the next pay-per-view after WrestleMania 30. Can we get 500 likes on this video? Because I review every single pay-per-view on my channel. The last time I missed reviewing a pay-per-view from WWE was all this time last year at Extreme Rules 2013 was the last time I didn't review a WWE pay-per-view. This is actually the first time I've managed to watch an Extreme Rules pay-per-view live. This was in fact the 6th Extreme Rules pay-per-view that the WWE has ever put on, and this was actually the first one I've ever watched live. So in this video, I'm going to review the whole pay-per-view. I'm going to break it down, my thoughts, my analysis, the results, my review, everything like this in this video right here, right now. Get down in the comment section as well after you've liked this video to explain what you thought of the show. Break it down yourself, give me your thoughts, analyze everything. I want to get you guys involved, and just before I get on to my review, I did actually tweet out for people to give their opinion on the show. What did they think of Extreme Rules 2014? So I'm going to say a few people, of course, do subscribe to my channel on YouTube for daily WWE videos and, of course, reviews of every single WWE pay-per-view. But as always, follow me on Twitter as well, because I've just come off from live tweeting the show. I tweet pictures, I tweet jokes, I tweet results the whole way through every pay-per-view, and these guys have been following me through the whole show, and people like this have tweeted me back what they thought of the Extreme Rules 2014 show. So at Heel Arjun said a 7.5 out of 10. Pay-per-view. Some matches were brilliant, others were meh. At Raw is Gibby said solid with an exclamation mark. Then we had Ben Ginster who said a brilliant pay-per-view. 17325 Trayman said 8 out of 10. Also, Dan the Man 0024 said, I thought it was good. I mean, the WLC match was actually great, and the Shield vs Evolution match was match of the night. The J-Man 731 said, yeah, the whole show was awesome. Strong 9 out of 10 from me. Also, Joker's FIFA said it sucked apart from the Shield vs Evolution match and Big E vs BNB. Also, the SXETJ said, thought it was pretty good, 8.5 out of 10. Also, Heel Arjun comes back to me and says Cena vs Wyatt was actually a bit of a letdown. Little Johnny is the only highlight. And scrolling up, WWE Town Nation said strong, solid, and a good pay-per-view. Few moments here and there. 8.5 out of 10. Also, You Can't See Me said 8 out of 10. That Hornswoggle versus El Torito match, though. Also, Corey Harris 23 says, can I get in it? I got 2 in with me already. I don't really know what that means. Joelster YouTube says, hey Tom. And then WWE Town Nation again says, good solid show. Some moments where I thought that's awesome, and others the opposite. 8.5 out of 10. So that's all you guys giving your opinions on the show on Twitter. Do follow me on Twitter, of course. So really thinking about that, some good solid reviews. A lot of people giving a good over 7 out of 10 score, which is actually very good for pay-per-views. Now obviously I can't go off what you guys score because I don't know how harsh or lenient you are with your score. So in this video, I'm going to review it all myself and see what you guys think of what I thought of the show, and maybe it might be a bit controversial. Give me your thoughts in the comment section below. But Extreme Rules 2014 began with the kickoff show. Now, at WrestleMania 30, they decided to rename it back to pre-show, but for Extreme Rules, they've decided to bring back the kickoff show. Now, I said in my WrestleMania 30 review why I thought bringing it back to the pre-show name was a lot better. Kickoff just reminds me of a football or a soccer game. You don't kick off a wrestling show. You're not kicking off anything. It's a pre-show. It's before the main show starts. You don't kick it off. It just doesn't really work with a wrestling show. Kickoff it just doesn't sound professional for a wrestling show. Pre-show sounds a lot better and really suits what the actual show is. It's not a kickoff. It's a pre-show. It's a show which goes before the show where they advertise and hype up the pay-per-view. It's not a kickoff. You're not kicking it off. You're advertising the actual main show. Kickoff just really didn't seem right for me. The name was a bit weird. Kind of came out of nowhere once they started using it. They carried on using it. For WrestleMania 30, they brought back the name of the pre-show, so I thought, yeah, maybe they've got the idea. They're just going to keep with the pre-show name. Since they've moved to the network, maybe they're just going to stick with the pre-show name and the post-show, because they have the post-show. Why don't you just call it the pre-show? Kickoff and post-show are two different names. If you have pre-show and post-show, it makes more sense than having kickoff show and post-show, if you get me. Pre-show and post-show go together. Kickoff show and post-show don't go together. So I thought the fact that they called it pre-show at WrestleMania 30 made me think that they're maybe going back to calling it pre-show, but no, they've gone back to using kickoff show, and I don't like the name, but that's that. I'm not really sure why they've gone back to using that, because they changed it at WrestleMania 30. Why would you then go back to using kickoff show again? But the match we had on the kickoff show was El Torito versus Hornswoggle. Now, the panel for the pre-show, or the kickoff show, was Alex Riley and Booker T, as always, and also, as the star, you had the Celtic Warrior Sheamus. Now, I'm not really sure why they had Sheamus on here. To be honest, he's a great star. He deserved either to be on the kickoff show instead of Hornswoggle and El Torito, or actually even in a match on the actual show. I thought it was a bit of a shame that a great talent like Sheamus, a main event star, was on the panel of the kickoff show. Really, really huge disappointment for Sheamus, who really is a three-time world champion, who's on the kickoff show, and he's still got a great future in front of him, but he was thrown on that kickoff show where he really could have had a match on the actual pay-per-view. But honestly, people never really listen to these guys on the kickoff show. Honestly, this might be one of the last times I watch the kickoff show. Every time, now and now and now, I see why I really shouldn't be watching the kickoff show. Once in a while, they'll pop out with a good match, like a WrestleMania 30, and like this one in Extreme Rules. Two very good kickoff show matches this time, and the pay-per-view at WrestleMania 30. But we've also had some right stinkers down the line of kickoff show matches. I really can't recall a lot of kickoff show matches, but I mean, The Miz and Wade Barrett comes to mind as bad kickoff show matches. Sandow versus Sheamus comes to mind of bad kickoff show matches which they've had in the past. But really, this is one of those matches which advertises to me why I should continue watching the kickoff show matches. Because every time the pay-per-views come round, I always wonder to myself, is it worth watching that extra half an hour of wrestling just to watch a throwaway match on the kickoff show? But really, El Torito versus Hornswoggle was actually a very, very good match and one of the best matches on the card. So really, I was happy that I did tune into this kickoff show. And I would have actually said the same, I did say the same for the WrestleMania 30 kickoff show match or pre-show match. I said that was a good, solid match. And once again, WWE presents a very, very good pre-show match. Now, on paper, El Torito versus Hornswoggle really didn't seem like much of a draw. Really, I said it on my prediction video, it seems like a match that the crowd would just boo, chant CM Punk. They really wouldn't be in it. It would be very, very quiet, and they really wouldn't care about it whatsoever. Many people might not even enter the arena until the pay-per-view is about to begin. It would be quite an empty arena. People wouldn't be drawn to their seats and want to sit down and watch this match. So maybe a lot of the crowd would have still been filing in whilst this match came to its end. But really, the whole crowd was very, very into this match, and I was actually surprised at home that I was gripped watching this match from start to finish. It was a very, very good, entertaining match. Now, I said in our prediction video, this really wasn't a wrestling match. It would have been an entertaining match to get a few giggles and have some good entertainment on your screen, and it really did not disappoint in the entertainment factor. They had 3 announcers at ringside who were imitating Michael Cole, Jerry the King Lawler, and JBL. You can't call them midgets, it's actually offensive now, but they were small like Hornswoggle and El Torito, and they were imitating the 3 announcers of Michael Cole, JBL, and Jerry the King Lawler. It was very, very funny, but it was a bit of a clusterfuck on the commentary when you could have had possibly 6 guys talking at once on commentary. A bit of a mouthful in the ears when they talked over each other and whatnot. Maybe it would have been cool if they just sat there and maybe didn't actually comment or anything. Or they closed off Michael Cole, JBL's, and Jerry the King Lawler's commentary whilst the small guys commentated. I just think having 6 guys on the mic at once was a bit too much and a bit of an earful, but they also had a small referee as well, so it was a small match. It was a WLC match. That's what it was advertised as. So I thought it was cool that they made the effort to make the costumes for the small announce team, and they also had the small referee. They could have easily just put a normal referee in there and not had the small announce table. Just them little things make it a little bit more exciting and a little bit more special, because the kickoff show matches really don't matter anymore. The WWE Network streams it live, so they stream the pay-per-view live, and they also stream the kickoff show live. So the kickoff show is really just something people can tune in if they want to. It used to be a free thing where they could use it as free advertisement, so people would watch it on YouTube. They don't actually stream it on YouTube anymore. You can only watch it on the WWE Network. So for a show that's World Wrestling Entertainment, it's not very worldwide if only Americans can watch it. But it used to be an outlet to free advertise the show, but now it's on the WWE Network. They can't use that as a free advertising, so you might have matches like this which really aren't A-list matches. So I wasn't very optimistic about the match in the first place. El Torito versus Hornswoggle really didn't grab me. We've seen it in the past, we've seen it in the last few weeks, so it really wasn't a match to advertise me. But yet again, the kickoff show really isn't special anymore because it's only on the WWE Network anyway. But this actual match was great. Very, very entertaining. Some 2 fabulous spots through this match. There was that tag team move Los Matadores do where they hold up an opponent and El Torito sits on them. They did that. They were stood onto the ring apron, and El Torito did that over the rope, onto the floor, onto chairs, tables and ladders. It was amazing. There was 10 weapons they fell into. A very, very awesome, entertaining spot. I went wild. I was off my feet. It was a very, very good, awesome spot. Also, you had the ending move was basically a springboard by El Torito on a miniature table, and he went to pin Hornswoggle 1, 2, 3 to pick up the victory. Now, you're going to have to watch this match because there were so many great moments in this. There was one moment when Hornswoggle held on to El Torito's tail and chased him around the ring. That ended up with a gore into Jinder Mahal's crotch. There was just so many epic moments in this match. I mean, Hornswoggle went for a suicide dive outside the ring, but he hit the rope. There was some great dodge by Hornswoggle when El Torito tried to jump on him. Los Matadores and 3B got involved in the match. There was Hornswoggle swapping a small ladder for a bigger ladder, then jumping off and Hornswoggle moving out of the way. There was just so many great spots during this match that I just can't explain. I've probably explained about, a quarter of them. You're really going to have to watch that match back if you can find any footage of it, because it was actually a very, very surprising match. And I think that was what made this match special, was even though it may have been slightly predictable, a lot of people didn't really go into this match with high expectations. They didn't expect it to be any good, so when they saw it and were surprised at the good spots they put on, a nice kind of fast-paced, entertaining match, which really we weren't expecting anything from, and for it to deliver, I'd say as well as it did, took a lot of people like me by surprise. So at the end of it, I felt very, very satisfied with the match, and I was very, very happy at the end of it. It was like, wow, I didn't expect that. I'm satisfied. Great match, some great spots, some great pacing. Overall, I was entertained, and it really got a thumbs up from me. So El Torito and Hornswoggle, even on paper, I said, I'm not excited for this match. We've seen them go head-to-head in the last few weeks, and I haven't seen anything special. They put them on the kickoff show. They gave them this match. They gave it a plenty of time, actually, as well. I think it may have been a good, 15 to 20 minute match. Solid match. You're going to have to go watch that, because that was one of the matches of the night, and that was even on the kickoff show. So for me, I'll give it a thumbs up. At the end of the day, it was predictable. The babyface usually wins on the kickoff show, because it gets the crowd excited for the rest of the show. They're pumped up. They see the first match end with the fan favorite winning. They're happy. They're excited. And it gets the crowd excited for the rest of the show. The show actually really needed a show to have people off their feet straight away. Every show needs it. Every show needs something exciting to kick off the show. And really, a WLC, or basically a no disqualification match, is something to get people into the show. People rowdied up. People rowdy and shouting and yes, yeah. You want something to get people excited straight away. And this no disqualification match, and the pacing, the spots, everything like that, how long it lasted, was really a good way to get people in the show and to get the crowd loud. Good job, WWE. I'll give this match, 8 out of 10. That's a good score. 8 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10. Very, very good match by El Torito and Hornswoggle on the kickoff show. Now, we moved on to the actual pay-per-view, and Cesaro defeated Rob Van Dam and Jack Swagger in a triple threat elimination match. Now, actually, this is one of the other predictable matches, and this was my second prediction I did, in fact, get right. Yes, Cesaro did, in fact, defeat Rob Van Dam and Jack Swagger. Now, the confusion that went on here was that I didn't know, and I don't think anybody knew, that this was actually a triple threat elimination match. I thought it was just a triple threat match. Now, when the first pinfall happened, when Jack Swagger got eliminated, Michael Cole stuttered, the crowd stuttered, the announcers stuttered, because they weren't actually sure themselves that this was an elimination match. We were all under the assumption, or maybe I just misheard, that it was an elimination match. They honestly did not make it clear whatsoever that it was a triple threat elimination match. And when have we seen a triple threat elimination match? I don't know if I'm just being stupid or something, but have I seen a triple threat elimination match before? And what was the point of doing the elimination bit? Why couldn't they just have had a triple threat match? Now, first off, there was some decent build going up towards this match, and look, on paper, it looks like Rob Van Dam was the odds one out in this match. And actually thinking about it, 4 weeks ago, I would have said Cesaro versus Jack Swagger would have been at the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. So we did actually get that with an addition of Rob Van Dam. Cesaro versus Jack Swagger would have been a very, very good feud, especially with Paul Heyman and Zeb Coulter at ringside. It would have been a very, very good feud to get behind, with some great promos, because Cesaro obviously broke away from his man, Jack Swagger and Zeb Coulter. It would have been a good feud, a good way to build up a feud. I think if they stuck with Cesaro and Jack Swagger, they could have built up a better feud than what the fact that they added Rob Van Dam meant they couldn't go with a Cesaro versus Swagger feud. Adding Rob Van Dam meant they couldn't go with the fact that Cesaro broke away from Swagger, because you also had another guy in there. He wouldn't have really fit the mold. So I'm not really sure why they decided to add Rob Van Dam into this match. If they didn't add Rob Van Dam into this match, it could have been about Cesaro and Swagger only. By adding Rob Van Dam meant they really couldn't have built the feud between Swagger and Cesaro, which I would have preferred to have seen before the match happened. To be honest, I would have rather seen Cesaro versus Jack Swagger, because it would have made for a better feud, because there was more material to talk about. Adding Van Dam there, he was an odd one out. It just didn't seem like he fitted into this feud. And the fact that he was in this feud meant they couldn't build up the fact that Cesaro broke away from the Real Americans. But you also had another possible feud in here. The fact that Rob Van Dam was an old Paul Heyman guy and Cesaro is a new Paul Heyman guy. So in this match, it felt like you had two feuds that Cesaro could have gone for in 2 matches. Could they have left Rob Van Dam versus Cesaro for Payback and had Swagger versus Cesaro at this pay-per-view? Instead, they added both of them into one match, and they could have possibly wasted 2 feuds, because having them both in the match meant they couldn't have done any feud. It really didn't feel like... It just felt like there was 3 guys in a match. There wasn't really a feud there. There wasn't any material into the feud, because if you'd gone with Swagger and Cesaro, the feud would have all been about Cesaro leaving the Real Americans. And if it was only Cesaro versus Rob Van Dam, you could have talked about a new Paul Heyman guy and an old Paul Heyman guy. But having both of them in that match, Van Dam and Swagger against Cesaro, you couldn't have concentrated on one or the other. So there really wasn't a proper feud here. It was just really 3 guys in the ring. They could have had Swagger Cesaro here and left Van Dam and Cesaro at Payback, where you could have actually had proper feuds. Adding them in the same match just wasn't a proper feud, but all in all, it was a very, very good match. I actually was really a big fan of this match. I just wasn't a fan of how they booked it. Now, Cesaro hit that superplex off the top rope where he brought Jack Swagger off the apron onto the mat, and it's basically a superplex because he lifts them over the ring apron or over the ropes and then onto the mat. It's incredible. We've seen it before on Cena and other people. Great move. I love it. It's very good. Another great move from Cesaro's repertoire. But as soon as he hit that on Jack Swagger, Rob Van Dam hit a 5-star frog splash out of nowhere, and he got the 1-2-3 pin. Now, the crowd didn't know how to react, Michael Cole didn't know how to react, and the announcement was quite slow because I didn't think they realised that it was an elimination match rather than a triple threat match, and we didn't expect Van Dam to win this match, so everybody was caught up in the confusion, so it was quite an awkward ending, quite an awkward middle part of the match. But I can't understand why when they went for this elimination match, why couldn't you have had Cesaro pick up both the pinfalls? Now, Cesaro and Swagger have a bit of beef towards each other. Rob Van Dam and Swagger really don't have a lot of beef towards each other, so surely Cesaro should have been the one eliminating Swagger. And also, if Cesaro eliminated Swagger, a 2-time world champion, then that would have put over Cesaro even more. And it also would have proven that he's now better after he's left the Real Americans. It would have been a bit of justice towards Cesaro. And eliminating Jack Swagger and then going on to pin Rob Van Dam would really have proven that Cesaro is the much better guy out of all of them. The fact that Rob Van Dam picked up the win on Swagger isn't as satisfying for Cesaro, really. I mean, it would have been much better if Cesaro got both the pins on Swagger then on Rob Van Dam. Why would Rob Van Dam need to pin Jack Swagger? Rob Van Dam's already over. He's a fan favourite. He's a legend. He's probably never going to win a championship ever again. So there's no real point building this guy up. Did he really need the pinfall in this match? He's already a very credible superstar. What I'm saying is he really didn't need the pin. The pin was wasted. Cesaro could have quite easily had the pin. He could quite easily have pinned Swagger. Rob Van Dam pinning Swagger kind of felt like a bit of a waste when you could have had Cesaro doing that job. But it then went down to Rob Van Dam and Cesaro. And of course, Cesaro picked up the win. A very easy, predictable match. Cesaro's first pay-per-view match has been a new Paul Heyman guy. He was one of the guys that was dubbed to be pushed heavily after WrestleMania 30. Cesaro is one of the next big things in the WWE. To copy a Paul Heyman quote right there on Lesnar. So really, there was no question that Cesaro was winning here. Swagger really doesn't have anything whatsoever going for him at the moment, and he was never getting this pay-per-view win. He could actually benefit from a pay-per-view win, but he was never winning against a guy like Cesaro, who really has a lot of momentum going for him at the moment. And Rob Van Dam could say he was actually added in this match just to put over Cesaro a little bit more. Having 2 guys in there puts us over Cesaro even more than just having 1 guy in there. So that was a good job. But when it came down to Cesaro and Rob Van Dam, when Swagger was in there, it was a good match. But then when it came down to Van Dam and Cesaro, it was an excellent match. You're going to have to go back and watch it. There was some great moves through there. There was a German suplex pin, which looked great. There was also, when it was Swagger, Van Dam and Cesaro, there was a Cesaro swing on Swagger, and then Van Dam hit a heel kick on Cesaro, great move. But it all came down to the ending, which was tremendous. Van Dam got a trash can out. Obviously, it was no Extreme Rules because it was a triple threat match. Van Dam put a trash can onto Cesaro's body. He went for the 5-star frog splash, and Cesaro moved out of the way, but Van Dam landed on the trash can. Then, guess what happened? Cesaro hit a neutralizer, a fucking neutralizer on the trash can. What a great ending. Definitely a pay-per-view ending. You won't see that on a Raw. You'd see that on a pay-per-view. A neutralizer on the trash can. What a great ending. What a great way. A memorable way. You're going to remember that time Cesaro hit a neutralizer onto a trash can. A very, very cool ending for Cesaro. Obviously, was picking up that win. At this point, I'd already had 2 out of 2 of our predictions right. Of course, quite an easy prediction to make. So, it needed to be a good match. Because the fact that it was so predictable, you needed a good match. I mean, if it was a bad match and it was so predictable, it would have fell flat on its face. But the fact that the match was good took away the fact that it was a very, very predictable match. You're going to have to go back and watch it. It was quite a good match. We don't usually have a lot of triple threat matches. I know we had one at WrestleMania, of course. The big match between Dave, Randy, and Bryan, of course. But apart from that, you don't see a lot of pay-per-view triple threat matches. And I like them. They usually have some decent spots in them, some decent handicap spots where people work together. You usually have some nice pacing to it. You can usually pick a guy that's your favorite. I mean, if you think about it, you're either gonna like Swagger, you're either gonna like RVD, you're either gonna like Cesaro. There's gonna be one man in there that you're going to be a fan of. So it's a win-win for the WWE. There's always going to be somebody you're going to like in a triple threat match. So really, I mean, you can see singles matches where maybe if I'm looking at this, looking at the card, maybe the Rusev, R-Truth, and Xavier Woods match, for example. I don't like any of the guys in that match, so I'm not really going to be bothered about watching it. But for a triple threat match, you've got 3 guys. You're bound to like one of them. So a triple threat match I always see is a really good option, a really good idea for a match. I always really like the triple threat matches. Out of all the 3 guys in this match, I like all 3. I think they're 3 great talents. So I love this match. I thought it was very, very good, very, very entertaining match, tremendous, and puts over Cesaro very, very well. Keeps his momentum alive. He's very, very over at the moment. He's in a very, very good position at the moment. The swing is very, very over. That neutralizer is very, very over. Everything Cesaro does at the moment, it's absolutely gold. A very, very good match. Loved it from start to finish. But thinking about it now, would you have rather seen a Jack Swagger versus Cesaro match, or even a Cesaro versus Rob Van Dam match, or would you have liked to see this match? I'm not sure what I would have seen. I think I thought the match was good, but I'm not quite sure. Would I have rather seen Swagger versus Cesaro? I'd have to see the match to decide, because I did think this was a very, very good match. So I'll give this an 8 out of 10. So far, we've got 16 out of 20, which is actually a very, very good rating so far. Now, here's where I thought the pay-per-view maybe dipped slightly, where it was Alexander Rusev defeating R-Truth and Xavier Woods. Now, first thing first, I just want to put it out there. Do you think Lana's hot? Because a lot of people think she's hot, but I just don't think she's really my kind of chick. I just don't think she's my babe. She just doesn't. I don't see really anything in her. I don't think she's hot at all. I just don't know why. I just don't find her attractive. A lot of people think, oh, she's amazing. She's beautiful. I don't think she's even that hot. But she's more over than Rusev. I mean, this whole match, the crowd was just, they reacted a few times, they got off their feet a few times when Rusev did something spectacular. But apart from that, they were quite dead, because this was the most predictable match on the card without a doubt. Rusev was nowhere in hell losing his first pay-per-view. Well, it isn't his first pay-per-view match because he debuted at the Rumble, but really, his first pay-per-view match since properly debuting in the WWE at Extreme Rules tonight, guys. There was no way WWE were booking him against R-Truth and Xavier Woods, who are probably the least over faces in the WWE right now. Nobody really cares about them. We're not really sure why R-Truth and Xavier Woods still formed as a tag team. Nobody really cares about them. They're never going to do anything. They're never going to go very far in the WWE anymore. especially R-Truth, he's kind of done. Xavier Woods, I can't really speak for you. I'm not really sure how you're going to play out over time. But how it looks like here, these two guys really aren't in a good place at the moment. So putting him against Rusev really was a recipe for disaster. Really, are we really going to be into this match? It's a freaking pay-per-view match. Squash matches never do anything for me whatsoever. If you're going to do a squash match, at least choose an opponent or two opponents which have some credibility. But they chose R-Truth and Xavier Woods. I mean, they could have chosen Sheamus. They could have chosen, hell, they could have chosen Ziggler. I mean, that would have got quite good heat for Rusev if he beat Ziggler. But they chose R-Truth and Xavier Woods, which we really don't care about. So it was really a dead match before it even got started, sadly enough. And honestly, when you're thinking about a person's debut, you want to think about somebody who makes an impact. Does squash matches really make an impact? Is that stamping something on your brain? Are you remembering these squash matches Rusev has? No way in hell. I can't even remember the last match he had. Was it against Sin Cara? Was it? I don't even know who it was against. Because you don't remember them whatsoever. Squash matches don't do anything for anybody whatsoever. Now, I understand what it does. It shows the guy's a monster. I mean, he's freaking beat two guys here. But in the long run, they really don't do anything whatsoever. They're not memorable. They just don't do anything. And they're certainly not pay-per-view worthy matches. Now, it would have been a shame for Rusev, the fact that he's been picking up all these wins recently, to not be on the first pay-per-view since he debuted in the WWE. But to have a squash match in his first pay-per-view match is a huge disappointment, when he quite easily could have had a match against Big Show, Mark Henry, Sheamus, Ziggler, Khali, anybody like that. And you just have a lame-ass squash match where there was really no competition from Xavier Woods or R-Truth. Now, what happened was, basically, Rusev came out first, of course, and then R-Truth and Xavier Woods kind of made a beeline to the ring. Rusev just hit a nasty-ass super kick to Xavier Woods, then hit a suplex onto Woods on the floor, and then he brought up the ring apron and slammed Xavier Woods' head into the side of the ring apron, which looked nasty as hell. But Xavier Woods sold it way too much. I mean, he was on the floor for like 5 minutes. I mean, how unrealistic was that? So, the match actually got underway when Xavier Woods was still on the floor for the whole of the match. You could just forget about him. But R-Truth, it was pretty much R-Truth versus Alexander Rusev. Now, the thing that was done was the referee wouldn't have started the match if both guys weren't stood up. So, he started the match when R-Truth was in the ring, but he forgot about Xavier Woods. He wouldn't have started the match if all opponents were in the ring. So, he just completely ignored that R-Truth was still on the floor. And the match was pretty much a singles match between R-Truth and Alexander Rusev. So, if you're going to advertise it as a 2-on-1 handicap match, at least do the 2-on-1 handicap match. I mean, that would have put over him even more. I mean, really thinking about it, it was only really a singles match. It really wasn't a 2-on-1 handicap match because Xavier Woods didn't do anything through the match. He wasn't a part of it. So I don't understand why they had the confrontation between Woods and Rusev before the match. I would have much preferred it if it was actually a 2-on-1 handicap match instead of Rusev taking out Woods before the match, because Rusev beating two guys is better than him defeating one, obviously. So why did they book Woods to be taken out before the match? It would have been more impressive if he actually beat two guys. So I can't understand WWE's decision for Woods to be taken out before the match and for them just theoretically just to have a singles match between Truth and Rusev. It would have been a lot more impressive. But, of course, Alexander Rusev got the win. Now, this guy is impressive. He runs like a cat. For a big guy, a guy which looks like a freaking basketball, he's a quick-ass dude. He has some great moves. He just, like, what, he runs at you with his big legs. Oh, my God, this guy is a beast. He really is a very, very entertaining guy. He really puts on some tremendous moves. But squash matches at the end of the day don't do anything for me. So he pretty much picked up the win with the camel clutch. And once again, I said this on my prediction video, I believe. Yeah, it was on my prediction video. That when you get the camel clutch locked in, Why are they tapping out a second after he's got it in? At least let the crowd see the amount of pressure that he's putting on the person that's being camel clutched. Because as soon as he locks his hands into that camel clutch, the dude's tapping out already. Let the crowd, let the fans see how much pain the guy is in before he taps out. Because as soon as you get it locked in, they tap out, and it just doesn't look painful, it just looks weak. Let him have that move set in for a good 5-10 seconds so we can see the pain the guy is in. Every time they just tap out straight away. Sin Cara was the worst on Raw, I think it was. He just tapped out before he'd even got his arms stretched around his head. Let him hold it in for a good 10 seconds. Please, it just feels like he might as well just not even put the move in. He might as well just look at them and they'll tap out. It's just stupid. Now, after the match, Rusev looked like he was walking away and then just pretty much hit a slam on Xavier Woods. Like I said, would have been better if it was a 2-on-1 handicap match. Can't understand the reasoning why they pretty much laid out Woods on the floor during the whole match when it could have been a 2-on-1 match. What was the point in doing that? So for this match, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. The crowd was very, very dead for the match. It does put over Rusev very, very well. You do forget that, but it's a squash match. A squash match on a pay-per-view. This was, at best, a Monday Night Raw match, quality-wise. It was a squash match. For his first match, it would have been cool if he actually had some decent competition. Xavier Woods and R-Truth, before they started a feud with Rusev, really weren't having any TV time whatsoever, so he didn't care about them. And yet, we didn't care for this match. I'll see what these squash matches will do for Rusev, but when Payback comes around, I'll be disappointed if this guy is still having these type of matches. I'd much rather see him start a proper feud with somebody after tomorrow night's Monday Night Raw. Would be a huge disappointment if he has another squash match like this. So I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Bit of a waste of a 5 to 10 minutes on the show when we could have added longer to the Bad News Barrett and Big E match, maybe. So, yes, Bad News Barrett is your new Intercontinental Champion. Yes, Bad News Barrett defeated Big E. Finally, Big E drops that title. Yes, he's been having a rather rough patch. The same happened to Antonio Cesaro, it was back then, in 2012. Now, Cesaro won the championship at SummerSlam 2012, and for a while, he held that belt for about 6 months, and for a lot of his reign, he really wasn't booked correctly. The matches weren't anything impressive, and people just start losing interest in you, especially with the mid-card championship. There really isn't anything going for you, there's no real competition, and slowly, your character dies out and people get a bit bored of you, your reactions get less, and the same's really happened for Big E. He hasn't really had any decent competition. He's been struggling for a reaction recently, but I think a lot of people are starting to realise that Big E really might not be the next big thing. I never really saw it in Big E personally. You can go back and watch what my Hell in a Cell review is when the time Big E won his championship. I always said that I never really saw anything in Big E. He just seems like a guy that relies on that kind of explosion that Cena relies on, where he has what, 3 moves? I mean, I don't really see anything impressive in this guy. He seems like a guy who weightlifts. He's got good muscle, but at the end of the day, is he that guy that's going to carry your company wrestling-wise into the future? And I think a lot of people have started to realise, no, Big E really isn't that guy. And during this match, well, when he actually came out, he got no reaction whatsoever, which I felt for the guy, really. It's not his fault. He really hasn't been built into any real title match, and it was a shame. He didn't defend it at WrestleMania 30. I don't think... Hang on a second. Yes, he was on the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, but he wasn't on the Rumble pay-per-view. So it's been quite a rough few months for Big E. He really hasn't done anything. So going into this match, yet again, a very predictable match. Bad News Barrett was going to pick up the victory. There was a slight doubt in my mind. Maybe they'd swerve and make Big E win. But during the match, from the reactions he was getting, I thought there was no chance in hell that Big E was retaining here. Because people want to see somebody fresh have that championship. And I think a lot of people have joined the Bad News Barrett bandwagon in the last 4 weeks. And you could tell that from the crowd. They're into Bad News Barrett. He is over, especially with that bullhammer. he is over. He's finally getting... Ever since he got bullied in 2010 from John Cena, I thought this guy was out. I thought there was no coming back. But from this match and how well he's doing at the moment, the momentum he's got, I can see a bright future for Wade Barrett. I was excited before this match, and now I'm buzzing for the summer of Wade Barrett. But yeah, he is very, very over. He was a lot over than Big E before this match. And during the match, you could see how much more people were interested in Bad News Barrett rather than the Big E character. And I said, the reaction he's getting over Big E, there's no way Big E is retaining here. The crowd's going to be pissed. They're going to be very dissatisfied in the result. People still, will people be interested in possibly another month of Big E being your champion when he really hasn't done anything in the last few months? You've got to change it up once in a while. You've got to get something fresh. You've got to get something going. You've got Payback, you've got Money in the Bank, you've got SummerSlam. You've got 2 pay-per-views in quick succession. Hopefully Bad News Barrett can get a few good matches, because I'm excited for what Bad News Barrett is gonna do. Big E, I was never really interested in him. He's been very boring for the last few months. I'm glad the title has finally changed hands. After a long tournament, it would have felt a bit silly for all that build-up, all those great matches Barrett had against Sheamus, against Ziggler, and against Rob Van Dam. There was other great matches in there as well, of course. It would have been a shame for all that big tournament, for Bad News Barrett to win all those matches, build them up into this match, that tournament which went on for a good 3 weeks, for Big E just to retain. Big E hasn't done anything in the last few months. It would have felt a bit sad if he just retained after that long-winded tournament. Now, there were news that was supposed to be a US Championship tournament, but they changed it into an IC Championship tournament. But still, it was a long-winded tournament. Would have been felt disappointing that we've sat through all these matches for Bad News Barrett to finally win, and then if you went into the match and lost, it would have felt like a bit of a waste of time. But the match itself really wasn't anything impressive except the last move. I didn't really feel like it was a pay-per-view worthy match. It felt like just like a match on Raw. There really wasn't any special move through there. There was a spear on the outside by Big E. Well, we've seen Big E do that only on pay-per-views. I saw him do it on Dean Ambrose at, what was it, Survivor Series, was it? It might be in Hell in a Cell or Survivor Series. One of those pay-per-views. Big E, was it on Ambrose? I think it was on Ambrose when Big E hit it on, I don't know what pay-per-view it was, but Big E basically hit a spear on Dean Ambrose one pay-per-view onto the outside. He only seems to do that move on pay-per-views. It just proves the lack of moves Big E has. Apart from that, there wasn't really any highlight during this match. It really was just a bit of a waste of 10 minutes. Nothing really entertaining here except for the last move. Basically, both guys were running, and out of nowhere, Bad News Barrett leaped into the air like a Reigns and hit Big E on the head with the bull hammer. It was crazy. It was crazy good. It was a very, very good move. It was, I was off my feet. I was marking out. It was a fucking awesome move. It really, yeah, it was a good move. I haven't seen that before. That was good. You didn't expect that from Wade Barrett, did you? To jump in the air and hit a bull hammer elbow. It was crazy good. Wow, what a great ending to end the match. A great way to have a pop at the end of the match. 1, 2, 3. Ding, ding, ding. Bad News Barrett, your new Intercontinental Champion. I mean, what a great ending. A flying bull hammer. The crowd jumps up, the crowd are loud, and then it ends like that. A very, very satisfying ending to a slightly disappointing match. I think I might forget about that. The rest of the match, the ending certainly made up for it, in my opinion. So I'll give that a 7 out of 10. I am happy Bad News Barrett won. I'm excited to see what he does, because Big E was kind of boring me a bit. The tournament was exciting. I said it on Twitter numerous times. It was exciting. It was good. So all in all, the build up to it was tremendous. Of course, it had a tournament. I'm happy Big E's dropped it because he was quite boring. Bad News Barrett is exciting. He's got a lot of momentum going for him at the moment. A lot of people have finally got interested in this character after him only debuting 4 weeks ago. So really, surrounding it was a good match, but the actual match itself fell a bit flat on its face. It wasn't too entertaining, but the circumstances surrounding it are good. So I'll give it a 6 out of 10. So the next match was the Shield defeating Evolution. And I was quite surprised this was so low on the card. I thought this might have even been the main event, or at least a match before the main event. But this match followed the Intercontinental Championship match, which was quite surprising, really. I think you had 2 matches which weren't too good. You had Rusev and Bad News Barrett matches which weren't too good. So maybe placing this here was quite a good idea, because maybe the crowd weren't too into the last 2 matches. So maybe placing it here on the card was a good idea. But it did feel quite strange having it, an hour and a half into the show. Felt a bit strange. But all in all, this match was tremendous. It really was a tremendous match. This was the only match on the card I got wrong. Was Evolution. I said they were going to win, but the Shield won. Yes, the Shield won. How well does that put over the Shield? Defeating Evolution. Evolution returning, reforming after 10 years. And the Shield, the new guys, still defeat the old guys of Evolution. Batista, Randy Orton, and Triple H, the most over heels in the company right now, still can't defeat the Shield. Yes, great way to put over the Shield without a doubt. And honestly, they made the Shield look absolutely golden. Seth Rollins, Ambrose, and even Reigns, of course Reigns, looked fantastic. Seth Rollins had a great showing, Dean Ambrose had a great showing, and Reigns, of course, finished the match and had a great showing. Can't remember a lot from Evolution. I can just think of this, how well the Shield did. They did very, very well. Now, it was all about the ending, wasn't it? You can forget about the rest of the match, which was very, very entertaining. You saw Suicide Dives. You saw Dean Ambrose jump over 2 announce tables to jump over a barricade onto HHH and Randy Orton. Oh my god, there was so many good spots during this match. But this spot during the match was when Triple H and Randy Orton were keeping Dean Ambrose busy on some concrete stairs. They'd walked out into the arena, into the crowd. You know, when you walk into an arena, you have to walk up some stairs to get to your seat, some actual proper stairs. They went down to them stairs bit. They were keeping Dean Ambrose busy by punching him. And then Seth Rollins, oh my god. Oh my god. This was great. Now, he was on a platform where people were sitting, and he jumped, what, 5, 6, 7 meters from the air, onto the ground, onto his team partner, Dean Ambrose, onto Orton, on the Triple H. It was a great spot. It really was a great, tremendous spot. It was cool. And then, in the middle of the ring, Reigns hit the Superman punch on Batista, and then the spear on Batista. 1, 2, 3, and pinned Batista in the middle of the ring. I was expecting Evolution to win. I couldn't think why they bothered to bring Evolution back after 10 years. They really were why I started watching WWE 10 years ago. So, for them to bring them back after 10 years, and for them to reform in a 3-week gap, and then to go into their first pay-per-view match and lose, feels like a bit of a waste of time, feels like a bit pointless, but all in all, it does put over the Shield very, very well. You've got to remember that. It does put over the Shield very, very well, but it does feel like they rushed the Evolution bringing them back, and for them to actually lose, I thought they'd rushed it. I thought they'd rushed bringing them back anyway, but for them to rush it and then for them to lose in their first match is a huge disappointment for Evolution. It doesn't look likely Evolution is actually sticking around as an actual thing. Batista is actually going to go away for a while, so Evolution may only be a short-term thing, and that may be why they gave Evolution the Shield the win here. They're probably thinking for the future that, for the future, they're probably thinking, well, there's no point giving Evolution the win if they're not going to stick around as a team. Give the Shield the win, they're the next upcoming stars. They're the future. Give them the win. But honestly, I don't really think the Shield needed the win. I think they're already over quite well as faces. They've got some good momentum. They squashed the New Age Outlaws and Kane at WrestleMania 30. So really, they didn't need the win. I thought Evolution needed the win a lot more. And especially the fact that this match was so good, It would be a shame if they didn't do this match again at Payback. I mean, the Chicago crowd will react even more than the New Jersey crowd did. And I'd like to see Evolution versus Shield 2 at Payback, but having the faces win, that's very, very unlikely here. If you had Evolution win, if you had maybe Batista pick up the win on Reigns, you could have had an excuse for a second match, because if the heels win, it works like a storyline. You always have a good guy win in any storyline. Batman, you always have the good guy win in the end. That's why if heels win in the first match, you always have the faces win in the end. And if you don't have the faces win in the end, you at least have a rematch if the heel wins the first match. And if Evolution won here, I'd say that the Shield and Evolution 2.0 might happen at Payback. But the Shield one kind of suggests to me it's unlikely that we will have Shield versus Evolution again, which is a disappointment considering how good this match was. But all in all, they did rush Evolution. They did rush bringing them back, and it feels a bit pointless bringing them back considering they lost in their first pay-per-view match, and they're probably not even going to carry on anymore. They're probably going to go now. That was probably the end of the Evolution reforming, so it kind of felt a bit pointless in the end. But the Shield won, puts him over very, very well. The Reigns, the top guy, still in the Shield. He was the one that picked up the win, puts him over very, very well, pinning Batista, a former world champion. So yeah, Reigns picked up the win. There wasn't really a surprise there. Reigns was the one that was going to pick up the win. I'd probably say that Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose did more of the work. I think Reigns was the one that kind of was always going to be the one booked to end the match. But I don't think that was a disappointment for Rollins or Ambrose. I think they did a very, very good job of carrying the match themselves. Reigns only really got tagged in at the end for the hot tag, and when he did get tagged in for the hot tag, the crowd ate him up. They were over. He was super over. The crowd popped like hell when Reigns came in. This guy has gone from what? Good to amazing. He is so freaking over. And you can see it. You can just see that he excels so much when the crowd are behind him. My God, this guy is going to be a future star. He picked up the win, puts him over very, very well. The Shield are over as well, even more now, with that win over Evolution. A great match. I'd probably say that was match of the night. I was great from start to finish. There was some great build going towards this match as well. I'll give it a nice 9 out of 10. So far, so good. So, then Bray Wyatt defeated John Cena. This was the match I was most looking forward to. Bray Wyatt versus John Cena. At the end of the day, this is probably the most disappointing match out of all the matches on the card. I think... there's something bleeping here. What is this? Anyway, this was probably the most disappointing match on the whole card. I was very, very disappointed in the... this thing is bleeping like crazy. It's gone. Anyway, this was the most disappointing thing on the whole show, was John Cena versus Bray Wyatt. I fucking hate cage matches. They're not special at all. It just doesn't let people work as well as they can, and they rely way too much on the cage. They waste too much time climbing the cage, doing the similar spots of maybe he'll escape. The door is open, Cole. The door is opened. They waste too much time doing the cliched cage escapes and stuff like that. There's too many rest holds. There's too many rest breaks where they just lay on the ground for a long time. Very, very slow paced. This was just a huge disappointment. It was just slow paced. There was no real top move there. There was only an AA over the... There was only really an AA off the top rope, which is the move I remember. And I think we all knew, at the end of the day, another match I predicted right was that Bray Wyatt was going to win this match. I was surprised Cena won at WrestleMania. Maybe it was a bit of a big ask for Cena to lose at WrestleMania, considering he had lost his last 3 pay-per-view matches at the TLC, Rumble, and Chamber matches. It was a bit of a big ask for Cena to lose at WrestleMania. So, it was without a doubt, Bray Wyatt was going to win this match at Extreme Rules. So it was quite annoying that it was so predictable. But it was a steel cage match, which I'm not really a fan of. It was quite a disappointing match. It's slow paced, it was boring, there wasn't really anything to it. And I thought as soon as John Cena tried to escape first, and the Wyatt family weren't going to let him do it, that it was obvious that was how the match was going to go. You got a glimpse of how it was going to end, didn't you? You just knew that there was no way John Cena was going to win this match. I mean, as a wrestling fan, I like to see a clean match. And I saw, as soon as Cena tried to exit, you knew the Wyatt family weren't going to let him exit, didn't you? And you just knew it was going to end like that. It was going to go that way. You just didn't want to admit it. You knew it was going to end like that with the Wyatt family just not letting him escape. You've seen it before numerous times. Paul Heyman comes to mind against Triple H last year. Big E and AJ Lee when John Cena faced Ziggler in a Raw steel cage match. Very, very similar to that. I mean, we've seen it so many times where you gang up on somebody in a steel cage match. It wasn't anything special. It was slow paced. Nah, I just want to get off this match. I was most looking forward to this match, and it was probably the worst match on the card. I really didn't like it. I'm going to be honest. And the ending was just weird. John Cena was about to walk out of the steel cage after taking out all 3 members of the Wyatt family. Then it went cheer with the sheet mask kind of like kind of screen thing. And then, just randomly this kid starts singing, he's got the whole world. But it was like a warped voice. Now, the warped voice didn't just makes it seem less genuine. It makes it feel like it's been edited. It makes it feel like a studio's got hold of the voice. If you just had him talk normally, it would have felt more raw. It would have felt more genuine. I didn't understand the point of the warped voice. It just didn't seem genuine. It felt like there was somebody on the end adding a special effect to it. Which isn't really what the Wyatt family is all about, is it? They're all about going against things. They're all about doing what they do. It just felt like somebody was putting an effect on it. It didn't feel like a Wyatt family thing to do. It felt like a WWE thing to do, not a Wyatt family thing to do. It felt like a movie thing to do, a television thing to do, something that's edited. It didn't feel raw, didn't feel genuine, didn't feel Wyatt family-ish. And I don't really know what the warped voice did. Is that really a Wyatt family thing, a warped voice? I don't know, but it feels like they're kind of pushing or shoving this. It's got the whole world in his hands down our throats. Yes, we sang it at WrestleMania, but you don't need to shove it down our throats. It feels like WWE have realised, oh yes, we like this song, we'll sing it, but we don't want to be told what to sing. And they've realised this. They've realised we like it, but they've started to make us sing it by doing that quiet thing on Raw. No, let us do what we want. Yeah? I started to think this about Daniel Bryan. As soon as they started to notice the yes movement and how people were chanting yes, it kind of felt less effective. It kind of felt less cool to do. Now that they've started kind of mentioning he's got the whole world in his hands, singing it's kind of felt a little bit less cool, and it feels that they're shoving it absolutely down our throats, which isn't good at all. No, I like things where it's random. I don't like WWE telling us what to do, and having it end this way was also disappointing because I want Bray Wyatt to be put over cleanly. Yes! It puts over Bray Wyatt very, very well because he beats the most over face ever in the last 10 years, but it's not a clean win. It's not a clean win. They feel the need they feel the need to protect this John Cena character all the time. They feel the need every match for him to lose cleanly. It happened at the Chamber. It happened at the Rumble. It arguably happened at TLC when he got handcuffed. When was the last time he lost? The last time he lost cleanly was probably against Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam. Even in the match on Raw when he faced Cesaro, he still had to win that match. They seem like they have to look after this guy. They need to protect him. Anyway, when he loses, he has to lose in an unclean way. It's so fucking annoying. Why couldn't they put over Bray Wyatt cleanly? it just felt stupid having a kid that was not relevant whatsoever to start singing, distract John Cena, which just had the worst acting ever, and then Bray Wyatt hit Sister Abigail and then walk out of the ring. Now, it does add depth to his character. Bray Wyatt's the most depth character we have in the WWE right now. He's got the most depth to his character. So bringing out a singing boy with the whole world in his hands when it's in pitch black definitely adds depth to his character. It adds a lot more to him. It adds something to him. It adds more mysterious to him. It adds something more he can talk about. That he beat Cena with a small child. He beat Cena with possibly a Cena fan. Maybe he's a Cena fan. It adds more depth to his character by ending it like that. It puts him over like a heel character by getting a kid to make him win his matches. That gets him heel heat by having a kid win his match and having a kid sing to Cena, and that's how Bray Wyatt won. That'll give heat to Bray Wyatt, but I wanted to see a clean win. I wanted to see Bray Wyatt pin John Cena, but that's never going to happen. It's rarely going to happen. Bray Wyatt's going to have a clean win when he has the Wyatt family out there with him. Slightly disappointed how the match ended. Yes, it adds depth to his character, but I wanted to see a clean win. Why couldn't we have seen a Sister Abigail and a pin in the middle of the ring without a cage, just like what it could have happened at WrestleMania 30? But no, they feel the need to keep this John Cena character's momentum as high as possible all the time. John Cena's reaction when he came out was, John Cena sucks, because we're just bored of this character. Just give Bray Wyatt a clean win. Will people be interested in seeing Bray Wyatt versus Cena 3.0? Considering the heel one here, it is likely to happen at Chicago at Payback. Maybe. The WrestleMania 30 match was tremendous. This match fell flat on its face. It was hugely disappointing. One of the most, well, I think it was the disappointing match of the night. Didn't like it whatsoever. Huge disappointment. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. The next match was Paige versus Tamina Snuka. Paige's second Divas Championship title defense and her first pay-per-view title defense was against Tamina Snuka. Now, how Tamina Snuka got in this match was by winning a main event battle royal against many other divas. Now, let me talk about this match. Anything less than Paige versus AJ Lee would have been a disappointment. Now, AJ Lee is taking some time off. No, we don't really know why, whether to recover, to revamp her character up. Is she going to benefit from off-TV time? Is she gone to chill with CM Punk? We don't know. But anything less than AJ versus Paige at the pay-per-view was a disappointment. So when we got Tamina, I was slightly disappointed, but that's something we can have down the line. Paige versus AJ could be a SummerSlam worthy match. I'd be game for that. So Tamina versus Paige was slightly disappointing and something that we didn't want to see when we could have had AJ Lee versus Tamina. Now, this was Paige's first, well, it was her first, God, tweet that keeps going off. But it was her first Divas title defense. So she was definitely winning here. There was no doubt in my mind that Paige was not winning here. It was her first title defense, her first pay-per-view match. There was no way in hell that Paige wasn't winning here, especially against Tamina. Who even is Tamina? There's bigger divas in the WWE than Tamina who could have beaten Paige here. There was Natalya, there's the Bella Twins, there was Naomi. There's bigger stars in the Divas division that could have likely beaten Paige. So Tamina really wasn't the likely candidate to knock off Paige from her Divas champion. There was no way she was losing anyway, but Tamina really wasn't the genuine person to do it anyway, which was quite a disappointment. At least WWE pick somebody that was legitimately gonna beat gonna beat Paige. I mean, was Tamina really hasn't had any in-ring action since joining AJ Lee's alliance. So was you really convinced she was gonna beat Paige? I mean, at least in Paige's first Divas title match at a pay-per-view, I want to be convinced maybe she might lose. Maybe there's a credible opponent to face Paige. I mean, they like to think as Tamina is like the monster diva, but really she's not really a credible diva whatsoever. She lacks in-ring talent. She's never going to really go anywhere in the WWE. I wasn't really sold on this match whatsoever, so it was a bit of a big disappointment. The match itself, there wasn't really any highlight whatsoever. I think when they showed the highlights, they showed about 2 highlights, and one of them was when Paige went for a Hurricanrana and Tamina smashed her into the barricade. That was one of the highlights. Another highlight was when Tamina hit a slam in the middle of the ring, which really wasn't a highlight anyway. And how Paige won was when she got that I'm not sure what that move is. What is that move called? Let me just find out. I've refreshed the page on WWE.com. Let's have a look. Where are we? Result of Paige versus Tamina Snuka. It'll tell me what the it'll tell me what the finisher is. What is it? The modified Scorpion crosslock submission, which looks deadly as hell. That was the only highlight of the match, and that was what actually ended the match. Was the modified Scorpion crosslock submission maneuver. And yeah, the match itself had no highlight whatsoever, so it was a bit of a disappointment. I was expecting more from this match. I said on Twitter it could possibly be Divas match of the year. It really wasn't. Bit of a disappointment in the end. No real bite to it. No real build really towards it either. Bit of a disappointment. Didn't really feel like a pay-per-view match. Entertainment wise, I mean, it really wasn't a credible opponent anyway. So I'll give that a 6 out of 10. The next match I'd give a 9 out of 10, and this was I think this was match of the night. Scrap that. I won't say Shield vs Evolution was match of the night. I'll say this was match of the night, because from start to finish, this was match of the night. A very consistent match the whole way through. WWE booked this match and gave them a half-a-minute stint to put on a very, very good match. Now, it was kind of strange that Kane jobbed at WrestleMania 30, and in the pay-per-view after even changing gimmicks, goes into the main event of a WWE World Heavyweight Championship match. He lost in 5 minutes of WrestleMania 30, and then is given a World Championship match against Daniel Bryan in the main event of Extreme Rules. Does that make sense for you? Not really, but they did actually build Kane as that monster once again. I was actually quite into them building him up as that monster again. I liked... Too much... I'm kind of sick of doing this review already. We're already on to an hour. I'm sorry, guys. I'm kind of losing my way. I'm a bit tired. It's already 5 o'clock. But yeah, basically... Itchy head. What was I going to say? What was I going to say? Yeah, Daniel Bryan only had 3 out of the 4 weeks was actually on WWE TV. So in the last 2 weeks, they've had to try and build Daniel Bryan into a match, because he had to be on this show. He had to defend his title. It's the first pay-per-view after him winning it. We've waited so long for him to finally win that belt. He had to defend that title on his first pay-per-view. So they had to rush a feud, and they picked Kane. But did anybody really think Kane was beating Daniel Bryan here? No. So once again, another predictable match. So nobody really believed Daniel Bryan wasn't winning here in his first title defense. And there really wasn't any build towards it anyway. Usually matches which have no build never really end in a non-surprising way. So Daniel Bryan, of course, won here. Now this match really relied on some big spots, because it really didn't feel like a pay-per-view worthy match. Kane kind of came out of nowhere in this match. He was just announced as the guy to face Daniel Bryan. So it needed a memorable match, a long match, entertaining match to remember, to feel like a pay-per-view worthy match. Because at the start of the night, I didn't feel like Daniel Bryan versus Kane deserved to be at the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. So it needed a top match to feel like it deserved to be on this pay-per-view, and without a doubt, it did not surprise whatsoever. There was some great spots during this match. There was a chokeslam versus the announce table, which happened very, very fast. There was kendo sticks, there was steel chairs. There was the gorilla position backstage. There was Kane smashing Daniel Bryan into the Titantron. The lights went out. There was gorilla position. There was Daniel Bryan getting smashed onto the roof of a bonnet of a car. There was an oil canister going through the window of a car. Kane smashing his hand through a car window. There was a forklift, and the forklift was brought into the middle of the ring. Daniel Bryan carried Kane on the forklift from backstage all the way back into the ring. He lifted Kane up into the ring and then did a flying headbutt off the forklift. That was a great move. And then there was a running chokeslam into the announce table, and then Kane set the table on fire and ended up getting pushed into it by Daniel Bryan. And then what happened next match was kind of disappointing, was that Kane kind of no-sold getting smashed into the table. He got straight back into the ring and then basically got the running knee to his face, and Daniel Bryan picked up the win. The crowd popped for that. 1, 2, 3. They were very, very loud for that. They loved that spot from their flaming table. Then the last time we saw a flaming table was at WrestleMania 22 between Edge and Mick Foley, was it? Yeah, I think it was. So quite a memorable moment was the flaming table, but Kane pretty much no-sold the flaming table. I mean, he got put through the flaming table by Daniel Bryan kicking him, and then he got up, got extinguished, and then soon after got just straight back into the ring. Yes, he then got running kneed, but it was kind of surprising that he didn't get put out by getting through the flaming table. It took a knee to the face to pin Kane, but yeah, it was a very, very memorable match. I'm going to have to watch this match again because I love this match. This match was match of the night. Kane and Daniel Bryan, 2 top stars. I was a bit wary of how well Kane could put on a no disqualification match. He's quite an old guy. How many more steel chair hits can Kane take? But actually, this match was very, very good, and they relied heavily on some great spots, which I've already discussed. Loved this match. Thought it was great. The flaming table debut returning once again was fantastic. Daniel Bryan, of course, retained. It was a predictable match, but a very, very entertaining match. I loved it from start to finish. A good half-an-hour match. Was given plenty of time. Yes, it was predictable. Needed a good match, seeing as it was predictable, and we certainly got it here. A good main event. It would have been a shame if Daniel Bryan didn't main event his first pay-per-view. So yeah, he did actually main event his first pay-per-view because he main evented this one. A lot of people thought it might have been Evolution versus The Shield to main event it, but no, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship deserves to be in every main event of a pay-per-view, and yes, Daniel Bryan and Kane did main event this pay-per-view, so no doubt there that that was the right decision. Yeah, I mean, there was barely any build towards it because Daniel Bryan went on his honeymoon, but yeah, it should have been in the main event. It's the first WWE World Heavyweight Champions title defense since winning it. It should have been in the main event. But what did you guys think of the full show? I thought it was fantastic. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. There was definitely some great moments during this match, which I'll run through. A great kickoff show match, very entertaining. Cesaro, Rob Van Dam and Swagger was great. Bad News Barrett, the new Intercontinental Champion's great. The Shield vs Evolution was fantastic, and Daniel Bryan defeating Kane was a very, very memorable match with some awesome spots. That flying headbutt off the pickup truck was, the forklift was fantastic. Loved this show from start to finish. A few disappointing matches, maybe Rusev, maybe the cage match. Maybe the Divas match was disappointing, but all in all, the positives outweighed the negatives. What did you guys think? I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Take care. Spike your hair.